The Elves and the Shoemaker. Part 1. Once upon a time, there was a poor shoemaker. He worked in his shop all day. First, he cut pieces of leather with his big scissors. Then, he sewed the leather with a needle and thread. And then, he sewed a buckle on each shoe. Poor, poor. Shoemaker, shoemaker. Shop, shop. Pieces, pieces. Sewed, sewed. Scissors, scissors. Needle, needle. Thread, thread. Buckle, buckle. Leather, leather. How did the shoemaker sew the leather? The Elves and the Shoemaker. Part 2. I make good, strong shoes, he thought, but I can't sell them. I'm old and my eyes are bad. My shoes are strong, but perhaps they're not beautiful. It was dark now. His wife came to him. It's late, my dear, she said. You can finish those shoes in the morning. Strong, strong. Sell, sell. Dark, dark. Bad, bad. Perhaps, perhaps. Old, old. Wife, wife. Beautiful, beautiful. What did the shoemaker thought about his shoe? Who came to the shoemaker? The Elves and the Shoemaker. Part 3. The next morning, the shoemaker went to his shop. There, on the table, was a beautiful pair of shoes. Look, look, he called to his wife. His wife came quickly. That's very strange, she said. Who made them? What beautiful shoes, the shoemaker said. I'll put them in the shop window. Table, table. Pair, pair. Window, window. What did the shoemaker find on the table? Where did the shoemaker put the shoes? The Elves and the Shoemaker. Part 4. Ding-a-ling. The bell rang. The door of the shop opened. A rich man and his wife came into the shop. Please show me the shoes in the window, he said. The rich man tried on the shoes. Beautiful, he said. I'll take them. And he gave the shoemaker a gold coin. Rich, rich. Show, show. Bell, bell, gold coin, gold coin. Who came into the shop? What did the man give the shoemaker? The elves and the shoemaker. Part 5. The shoemaker started work again. First, he cut the pieces of leather with his big scissors. Then, he sewed some of the leather with a needle and thread. He worked all day, and he was tired. He heard his wife's voice. "You must stop now, my dear," she called. "You can finish in the morning." He stopped work and went upstairs to bed. Work, work. Tired, tired. Voice, voice. Stop, stop. Finish, finish. Upstairs, upstairs. The elves and the shoemaker. Part 6. The next morning, the shoemaker came downstairs. He went to his shop. "Goodness!" he cried. "Come quickly, my dear. Look at this." His wife ran downstairs. "Goodness me," she said. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 beautiful pairs of shoes. Downstairs, downstairs. Goodness, goodness. What does the shoemaker find on his table the next morning? The elves and the shoemaker. Part 7. She put the shoes in the shop window. Soon, people stopped and then they came into the shop. "I'll buy those lovely green shoes," one lady said. "We'll take the brown shoes and the pretty pink shoes," a man and a woman said. People, people. Buy, buy. Lovely, lovely. Green, green. Lady, lady. Brown, brown. Pretty, pretty. Pink, pink. Where did the shoemaker's wife put the shoes? The elves and the shoemaker. Part 8. Soon there were no shoes left. That evening the shoemaker's wife brought some bread and soap to him. "Here you are, my dear," she said. "Will you leave some leather again in the shop tonight?" "Yes, I think so," he replied. And every night the shoemaker left his scissors and some pieces of leather in his shop. And every morning there were beautiful new shoes on the table. Evening, evening. Bread, bread. Soup, soup. Brought, brought. What did the shoemaker's wife bring? What did the shoemaker leave in his shop every night? The Elves and the Shoemaker. Part 9. After some time, the shoemaker said to his wife, "I'm very curious. Who is making these shoes? We can hide in a cupboard tonight." His wife said, "Then we can see." "That's a good idea," the shoemaker said. That evening, the shoemaker left some piece of leather on the table in his shop. Then he and his wife went into the cupboard. They waited quietly. Curious, curious. Cupboard, cupboard. Idea, idea. Quietly, quietly. Where are the shoemaker and his wife hiding? The Elves and the Shoemaker. Part 10. Dang dong dong. They heard the clock. It was midnight. Suddenly, two little men looked through the window. They opened it and jumped onto the table. "Elves!" the shoemaker said quietly. "Two little elves." "Here we are again," one of the elves said. "You sew this piece of leather, and I'll polish this shoe." Clock, clock. Little, little. Midnight, midnight. Elves, elves. Jumped, jumped. Polish, polish. Who is coming through the window? The Elves and the Shoemaker. Part 11. One of the elves picked up a needle. He sewed beautifully. All night long he sewed. His friend put on the buckles and then he polished the shoes. It was cold night, but the two elves wore very thin old clothes. Poor little elves, the shoemaker's wife thought. Their clothes are so poor and old. The shoemaker and his wife watched silently. The two elves didn't stop. They worked all night. Cold, cold. Thin, thin. Clothes, clothes. Stop, stop. Silently, silently. What are the two elves doing? What did the elves wear? The Elves and the Shoemaker. Part 12. Morning came. The elves finished the last shoe. They jumped off the table. Then they opened the window again. And a second later, they were gone. "Oh, I'm stiff," said the shoemaker. "After a night in the cupboard, I am so stiff." He climbed slowly out of the cupboard and helped his wife out. They went to the table. Stiff, stiff. Climbed, climbed, gone, gone, helped, helped. The Elves and the Shoemaker, Part 13. What beautiful shoes! Look at them, his wife said. But why are the elves helping us? Asked the shoemaker. I don't know, his wife replied, but perhaps we can help them. I have an idea. Look, look. Why? Why? The Elves and the Shoemaker, Part 14. We'll make some warm clothes for them, she said. That will be our thank you. Yes, what a good idea, the shoemaker replied. We'll make shirts and trousers, and coats and hats. Oh, and little shoes, of course. They started work that day. Warm, warm. Shirts, shirts. Trousers, trousers. Hats, hats. Coats, coats. What are the shoemaker and his wife making? The Elves and the Shoemaker, Part 15. After some time, the little clothes were ready. We'll leave their new clothes on the table with the scissors and the leather, the shoemaker said to his wife. Then we'll hide in the cupboard again. That night, the two elves arrived at midnight. Oh, look at these clothes, they said. They're nice. We'll put them on now. Ready, ready. New, new. Hide, hide. Again, again. Arrived, arrived. Nice, nice. When did the elves arrive? The Elves and the Shoemaker, Part 16. The elves were very happy. They laughed and sang and danced. The shoemaker and his wife watched them. They smiled. But that night the elves didn't cut the shoemaker's leather, and they didn't sew, and they didn't polish the shoes. Laughed, laughed. Sang, sang. Danced, danced. Smiled, smiled. Do you think the elves are pleased? The Elves and the Shoemaker, Part 17. We'll show our new clothes to our friends, one of the elves said. Yes, the other replied. We can't work in these beautiful clothes. We'll go now. And they jumped down from the table. They opened the window, and a second later, they were gone. Goodbye, little elves, the shoemaker's wife said, and thank you. Friends, friends. Goodbye, goodbye. What did the shoemaker and his wife say to the elves? The Elves and the Shoemaker, Part 18. And the shoemaker and his wife never saw the elves again. But now rich people came to the shop every day. They bought all the shoemaker's shoes. The shoemaker and his wife were not poor now, and they lived happily ever after. Never, never bought. Who goes to the shop every day now?